There he is.
Hello.
How are you, my man?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm awesome.
You got your tea or coffee?
I was like almost late because it's like the Keurig was taking forever, and then like now it's telling me I gotta put water in it, and it's not gonna happen today, man.
So high maintenance at Keurig.
I know it's like you think it's convenient, but geez, Louise, it's like
Yeah.
putting a puzzle together to get a coffee out of it,
Troubles.
Troubles. But well, I hope you enjoy your coffee. I'm gonna sit here and just look at it and
Okay.
kind of be disappointed that I don't
Anticipate.
have it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's coming soon. Hey,
coming
look,
soon.
I want to
Hey,
be
look at
like you.
you with your AirPods. Good deal, right? I
I'm
can
such a
hear
big
you.
boy now.
It's so good. Like I think I mean I can't hear anything around me, but I can hear you so clearly.
I
It's
can
like we're
hear
in the
you
same
so
room.
clearly. It is. Someday we will be in the same room again.
I know, right? Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
So, how was your week, man? Good week?
Week was good. Although I don't
Awesome.
know if
So
you
you're,
guys can see this. You see my black eye?
whoa, what happened there?
My dog headbutted me.
All right. All right.
There's no cool story behind it. I
I
got
thought
headbutted by a poodle,
not
and that's
like a brawl at a bar or anything. You weren't
no
standing up for your wife in like some sort of like chivalrous battle.
kind of some like Highlander Scottish sword battle. No, wasn't anything like that.
No, just a dog smashing you in the face.
Nope.
Well, that stinks. So,
I think
are are you there,
I think we
bud? Yeah,
paused
we're
there
good.
for a
All
second.
right. We did. Yeah. So I was just
I'm
saying
here.
how
All
cool it
right.
was that you got smashed in the head by your dog. Oh boy. Oh boy. Are we back? Are we back, Mike? Are you here? Are you here? No? Yes?
I'm
Uh-oh.
here.
Uh-oh. I'm losing you.
All right. I think you're there now.
All right, cool. You're good? All right, we're good. Let's
I
try
hope
this.
so.
If
Okay,
it
let's do it.
continues, I'll move and we'll check and see.
Okay.
All right. So I read an article that you put together called, I think it was called Foundational Health for Runners. Oh, all right.
Yes.
We're still choppy. So let me take a walk while we chat,
All right.
and see if my connection gets any better. I got to put my
Okay.
mask on for a sec. Um, so yeah, so there was this cool article that you put together that I was really kind of digging. I read the entire thing,
Awesome.
and
Thank you.
yeah, and so I was thinking maybe you could tell me a little bit about this woman named Jane to start. She seems to feature prominently in the article.
Yeah, she's a lead into the whole thing.
Right.
So I haven't read the article in a while. I did call it up just in case you had specific questions, but
Mm-hmm.
basically, I used Jane to help demonstrate the ground reaction forces and the physics behind running and
Mm-hmm.
why it's such a high injury rate type of activity.
Yep.
Um, I'll try to do an example from memory if you want to go through it. You think that would be helpful?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, so we'll say, actually, I'm just going to look to my math's not off. All right, so we're going to say Jane is a 140-pound runner. All
Okay.
right, and we're going to assume that Jane has 2 times her body weight of force that enters her legs every time her foot hits the ground, which is a pretty reasonable and expected amount of force to enter the body. It could be even
Yep.
higher, sometimes it can be a little less. So if she's got that amount of force coming in, so that's 280 pounds of force that enters her leg with every foot strike. Let's just say
Mm-hmm.
she takes 1,200 foot strikes in a mile, and let's just say she's running 25 miles a week. I think that's what I used. Yep, 1,200 steps, 25 miles a week. So that's 30,000 steps a week at 280 pounds per step, which means she has to dissipate 8,400,000 pounds of force that week.
That sounds impossible.
It's not impossible. It's very possible, but it's a lot.
It's
I mean,
it's
obviously
a
it's spread
lot.
out. It's
Right.
spread out over 30,000 repetitions, but that's why running is such a high injury type of um, activity because it's a repetitive activity. It's the same thing every time, and you have such high loads that enter the body with every foot strike.
Right.
So that's the example of Jane.
So Jane has to dissipate what was it, 8,400,000 pounds?
8,400,000.
That is like a building.
Right. There
That's a
was a
lot.
Yeah, there was an article I read years ago, back when remember Ryan Hall when he was competitively running?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was running. He did a lot of work with his form, and they found that he had too much vertical displacement. So he was, jumping too high with every foot
Hmm.
strike. And they did the math and the physics behind it, and if they changed if they could decrease his vertical displacement a half an inch, they said
Hmm.
he would save enough energy to run up and down the Empire State Building, which means when
Jeez,
he
Louise.
when he didn't get rid of that half an inch, he was using as much energy during a marathon that he could have used to run up and down the Empire State Building, which is
Wow,
crazy.
goodness.
Yeah,
And he's fast, that
and
guy.
he's good.
Right? My
Yeah,
goodness. So, well, now Ryan Hall, I think, is so jacked he could probably lift 8,400,000
he's
pounds.
he's a different human being right now.
Yeah, isn't that nuts how humans can do that and just be like,
Yeah,
run a 2:0 whatever marathon and then like go into lift weight mode and become a monster lifting
yeah.
weights.
That good athletes can make those changes pretty easily.
Right.
Yeah.
So the article that you wrote was all about kind of like how doing certain things in Jane's like kind of normal life will help her injuries stay kind of at bay a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, and I know it's like topics we've covered probably 1,000 times on these little coffee talks, but I know a huge one that you had mentioned was sleep. And I think we did a whole podcast on sleep at one point. Um,
Yeah.
so maybe just touch on how the how much sleep should we get, and then why it's such an important thing. I know if
Sure.
you had mentioned in your like bucket theory that it puts a big old hole in your bucket.
Yeah, yeah. Those of you who haven't seen the bucket, just send us a message and I'll send you a quick cartoon video of the bucket. But it's just an analogy I use of um, ways of decreasing the stress in the body. But I'm going to backtrack just 1 second. So
Do it.
later in my career, I realized that it's not all about correcting someone's foot strike and talking about arm swing and just looking at the biomechanics of running to totally help a runner. I was doing this and I'm sure I was helping some
Hmm.
runners, but if I'm talking to you about your arm swing and your foot strike and you're only sleeping 5 hours a day, you're malnourished, you're dehydrated, you're stressed, you're underrested, my advice is only going to go so far. So if your overall health foundation
Hmm.
is not optimal, you're not going to be able to take in the advice, the running specific advice. You won't be able to do your coach's workout or do the workouts to the extent that you can. You're not going to get as much out of it when your foundational health is lacking. So as the years
Right.
went on, I realized I got to start talking about these things with people
Hmm.
because, it was like putting the cart before the horse. So it was
Hmm.
almost like foolish for me to talk to someone about cadence if I don't mention to them that they're not doing themselves a service by sleeping. And sleep's a
Right.
big one.
Hmm.
I wasn't a good sleeper for most of my life. My wife helped me kind of put a sleep hygiene routine together. So if you look at like the national sleep studies or the organizations that are doing all this research, the adults should be getting the 7 to 9 hours of sleep
Hmm.
a night. Teens should be getting upwards of 10 hours of sleep a night. And if you look at our country, our teens are getting 5 to 6 hours a night,
Not good.
and adults we're not doing much better. So
Hmm.
right off the bat, you're starting your day at a deficit
Hmm.
because nothing in your body, any system, your cardiovascular system, your muscular system, your brain, your memory, cognitively, nothing gets better without proper sleep, right?
Yep.
Everything will get better with proper sleep. So you can
Right.
be, cognitively, memory wise, neuromuscularly wise, coordination wise, hand-eye coordination, all these things improve tolerance to activity. All these things improve with sleep because we're allowing these chemical processes to happen at night. When we shut down
Hmm.
and go into that coma-like state at night so we can recoup from everything we did for that day and get ready for the next day,
Yep.
right? And back in the way back days of no electricity, we would be shutting it down around sunset and we'd be waking up around sunrise.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but light bulbs have changed that, and people
It's
working
true.
around the clock, and computers, all these things are changing the way our circadian rhythms, which isn't great for our overall health.
Hmm.
So I've like been on this path to really try to get people better. I call it sleep hygiene or sleep preparation to get them set up to get a better night's sleep and stress
Hmm.
the importance of how important it is. And then the article mentions a couple of studies how they've, and don't quote me because I can't remember the exact numbers, but they looked at athletes that slept less than 8 hours and their injury risk went up like 27% or something like that. So
Wow.
there is a
Geez. Yeah.
correlation between performance, injury risk, illness, and just overall body function.
Yeah. Geez. I mean, it's such an important thing that I think people for they just forget about it. I think when people come to see you, what they do is they ask you, what exercises can I do to help with my whatever injury that's popping up?
Yeah,
And I think like you're saying, that can only take you so far if you're, only sleeping 5 hours a night. You gotta
right.
make sure you're increasing that number up to what, 7 to 9. Um,
Yeah,
and I think if folks want to learn a little bit more about the whole sleep thing, we have that whole other podcast, and I'm sure you have some more info if they want to reach out to you. But I want to cover a couple of more things in the
sure.
foundational health kind of topic.
Yeah.
The Something I want to talk about, because I'm curious myself, is a little bit more about this like nutrition thing that I really have a hard time with. Um,
We
so
all
I
do.
was, you're right. I was reading that you had mentioned you want to focus on foods that rot.
Yeah, rotten
Yeah,
food.
rot. Not you don't want to eat rotten food.
No, but you
Yeah.
want to eat the food that will eventually be rotten if you don't eat it,
Right.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
So avoid, you know, Big Macs.
yeah. I use an example in some of the talks that I've done, and I have a picture of a Twinkie that's 44 years old. Some science teacher up in Maine put a Twinkie in a glass box 44 years ago, and it still looks like a Twinkie. It's a little
That's
more airy. It's a
that's
little,
terrifying.
that's terrifying. So anything natural, any whole food does
Hmm.
not last 40 something years. It doesn't last weeks, doesn't last months, maybe weeks, depending on the food. But think about a banana. You have a banana on the counter, you're lucky to get 5 to 7 days out of it before it rots, right?
Right.
Um, Fruit in the fridge, meat, like lean meats that you would get, everything, all those things that are whole foods are eventually going to rot. So
Yep.
I'm not a nutritionist. I want to come off saying that. So my nutritional advice, I call it Mike's Nutrition 101. It's very simple.
Hmm.
Eat
Yep.
foods that rot, eat a rainbow of vegetables, and drink 8 cups of water. I keep it that
Yeah.
simple for me.
Yeah.
But some people have more a desire to learn more or to get more of a detailed plan, or they might have food intolerances or allergies, and then I would refer out to a nutritionist.
Hmm.
But it all comes down, yeah, if you're eating foods that rot and you're avoiding things in plastic that have an expiration date 3 years after you buy it, then
Hmm.
you're doing a pretty good job because the longer the expiration date, the more processed that food is typically,
Hmm. Yep.
and then the more inflammation that can create in the body. The highly processed foods have been shown to increase inflammation in the body, and
Yeah.
inflammation doesn't do anything good, especially for a runner.
No, no.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit more about that hydration thing? I know you said, what did you
Yeah.
say, eight cups of water, or eight
Yeah,
ounces of water?
Yeah, depending who you
Okay.
talk to, it's like 8 cups of water, which is, I can't do the math, but a certain amount of
60,
ounces,
64 ounces, I think.
64 ounces. Yeah,
I
and
think.
the great Tom Brady TB12 says 100 ounces. You just
Yeah, I
want to
was
drink a
like,
lot of water.
I was gonna mention that. Like, I remember he said something about 100 ounces. I was like, that's like a whole fish tank of water.
That's a
That's
lot of water,
crazy.
and
Yeah.
you can overhydrate, so you got to be careful, and you don't just go from 1 cup of water a day to 100 ounces a day, because that's a huge change in the fluidity in your body, and the that could just be a little too much.
Hmm.
People who eat more fruits and vegetables don't really need quite as much, because there's a
Hmm.
lot of water built into the fruits and vegetables that we're eating. So people who have a high fruit and vegetable intake can cut
Hmm.
that back a little bit. But typically, none of us drink enough, especially if we're busy working and we don't have water bottles with us. So I try to get people first thing in the morning, have a cup of water before you do anything. So now you get
Yep.
one out of the way. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
if you have time, get ready, breakfast, whatever, before you leave, another one, or have a cup on your way to work. Most people are having coffee, but try to get
Yep.
another water in. Try to get a cup of water at every meal, a cup or a bottle of water in between. So if you get your 3 meals, you got first thing in the morning and then the two in between, you're already at 6 cups, which is you're almost there, right? So by doing that, that's
Yeah.
better
Yeah.
than most people are getting in for hydration. But I think we mentioned this
Right.
last time. We're like 70 or 80% water. Like we need a lot of
Right.
water, and you should
Yeah.
be peeing a lot. And check
Hmm.
the color of your pee next time you go to the bathroom. If it looks like orange juice or apple juice, you're already dehydrated. Not
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's
Not
pretty
good.
clear, it doesn't have to be clear like water, but if it's more on the clear side and you're peeing often throughout the day, then you're doing a pretty good job staying hydrated.
All right. Cool. Good to know.
Yeah.
So clear
Again, that's
urine
that's the
is the
simple
goal.
Mike Silva's hydration 101. Keep your pee not looking like apple juice.
Keep your pee clear. I like it.
Yeah.
Cool. And then I know you get into a little bit about like, um, oh, actually, one more thing on nutrition. Should I take like
Yeah.
a vitamin D supplement? It seemed like that was a big thing.
Yeah, vitamin D is very beneficial. And, in the summers or when we're outdoors, or like this week when there's so much sun, our body will make that and the sun will help.
Hmm.
But nothing ever bad comes of taking extra vitamin D.
Okay, cool.
Especially now, too. I put out a post at the beginning of the pandemic, or maybe in the middle of the pandemic, where vitamin D helps build your immune system. And they found that people have that higher doses of vitamin D regularly were warding off symptoms of COVID and other things, and
Huh,
just helps recovery from activity. It's good. So vitamin D is one of those things that you want to keep at high levels in your system.
gotcha. All right, cool. I will do that.
Yeah,
And then I think you move, let's see, I'm trying to think of the organization of the article in my brain here.
you gotta give
But
you memorize it pretty good.
I'm trying. So I think you move into like the usual, the foam rolling, the strengthening,
Well, you
the
missed the stress.
oh,
Talk
the
about
stress.
stress.
Yes, I wanted to talk about that too. So
Yeah.
stress, so we know that like stress is bad for you, but like why would it be particularly bad for, say, a runner? And what are like the effects of it on your physical health? Because I always think of it as like a mental thing and it's not
No,
affecting me physically, but that just ain't true, man.
that that just ain't true. That's such a 1980s mindset you got there,
Yeah,
Eric.
I'm trying.
No, so we're connected. Like we are mentally, emotionally, physically, we're all connected. So when you have things like high levels of stress and anxiety, it's going to affect you mentally, emotionally, and physically. You're already at a state where you're more frail and not as resilient just by being in that stress state. And now you're going to throw a long run or a workout on top of that, which isn't good. So it just lessens your ability to withstand and recover from these physical activities.
Hmm.
And there's a huge link between what we just talked about, sleep. People who don't
Yep.
sleep enough have higher levels of stress and anxiety. People who
Mm.
spend too much time on social media, like you and I are doing right now, but people who spend, especially our teens, I mean, there's a
Mhm.
direct link with increased social media use, increased depression and anxiety, lack of sleep, poor physical performance, poor mental performance, emotional problems. It's a vicious cycle. All those are intertwined.
Mhm.
So if you can do something to manage your stress levels, keep your stress levels down, then you will function better, you'll be more resilient, and then the emotional and mental benefits come along with that as well. Did that
Hmm.
answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. So, and some of like doing the things like sleeping and eating properly and like drinking enough water can help
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
stress. It's all like tied together, man.
yeah. There was a study, I didn't mention it in this article, but in the coach's course that I have on my Run Strong website, I quoted an article that looked at high school and young college kids, I believe, like late teens, and they found that when they increased their servings of fruits and vegetables a day, not doing anything else, their depression scores dropped, meaning, or they improved. So when they did like the whatever scale they used, they improved just by increasing more fruits and vegetables.
Well,
And we
how
know
about
for a
that?
fact too, you increase your sleep, depression, anxiety can go down. Like I mentioned before,
Yeah.
nothing gets worse with more sleep.
Everything gets better.
Everything is better.
I totally agree with that. I got to work
Yeah.
on the sleep thing.
Yeah,
Myself.
we all do. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was good at it. I was great, and then then COVID hit, and life stuff happens, and the
Hmm.
stress levels go up, my rest goes down. So the sleep hygiene, and if any of the people listening want, if they don't have access, actually, if they just go on to um, the Run Strong Instagram and Facebook, they can get a link to that article and find out more.
Hmm.
Um, what was the point I was going to make? Oh, so talk about sleep hygiene, things you can do leading up to your sleep to get better rest, and that's going to
Yeah.
tie into having less stress.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that I've started to put the old cell phone away,
Nice.
you know, just to try to
Yeah.
get it. Like it used to be right next to my bed, and now I got to put it in another room, you know?
Yeah. Do you know one more? I like to quote things that I research.
Hmm.
Don't quote me on the number of this, and I don't know where I get this. I have to go find the article again. But a high percentage of Americans go 24 hours a day with their phone within arm's reach.
Wow.
So
That,
it doesn't
yeah.
think, yeah, if you think about it, oh, what's the big deal? That means their phone is always on them, or they don't have to get up to check their email. They don't have to get up to answer the phone. They don't have to get up to do anything. Everything they have to do is within an arm's reach away. So this is like another appendage for humans.
It's so true. It's becoming like just an extension of our bodies,
It is, and it's not
which
good.
is
You just go,
scary.
I know, just go look at go shopping and watch how many people are trying to pick up groceries or carry things and they've got the phone in their hand because they don't even put it down.
Yeah.
I see people drop things all the time because they're not using two hands. People We're functioning as a one-armed creature nowadays because the other one has this new appendage stuck to your hand and you can't use it.
Hot so bananas.
It
It's
is,
crazy to think of it at like that kind of macro level. Like,
right?
what are we doing to ourselves?
I know because when you're in it like day to day, like we're using it now for something good, but
Mhm.
we're always doing it. Like when we're done, we're going to check our emails real quick. You're going to post a video. I'm going to get the video from you. I'm going to post it. So we spend a lot of time on it. We don't think about it. But if you look at your screen time at the end of the day, and I have this talk with my kids all the time, it's kind of scary how much time we spend in front of these screens. And then
That's
there's,
true.
I talk about it in the sleep section, like the blue light that comes off of these screens, never mind what you're looking at, can be extremely
Mhm.
stressful, especially with teens and social media and all those things.
Right. I remember I was listening to an interview with I forget it's like it was an Apple Music thing. It was like Zane Lowe when he was talking with the guy who I think it's like Jack Johnson or something, and he
Hmm.
was talking about how both of them were kind of commiserating about how their kids are on their phones all the time, and they were saying how it was interesting that now family time is the break from the phone as opposed to the other way. So like it
Right?
used to be like, you take a break from hanging out and go on your computer or whatever. Now it's
Yeah,
like reversed, which is kind of scary to
right.
think
It is
about.
kind of scary.
So that's why we put the phone in the other room now before we go to bed.
Perfect.
We're trying. We got to work on the foundational health so we can be good
You know,
athletes,
it's
but
good,
also healthy,
good humans.
good
Just to
humans.
be, yeah. We're so what? I want everyone that's listening to this to go watch the movie Wall-E.
Oh
You remember
God, that's
that
a
movie? It's a
frightening
cartoon.
movie, dude. I remember that movie. that was
Yes,
like,
in that movie,
oh
that
my
there's a
God, it's the
message.
future.
Yeah, that's exactly like it wasn't a big part of the movie, but it shows humans at the current day when the movie was, wherever, whatever year it took place. And then it forecasted what humans were going to look like. And you see these skeletal, like these X-ray pictures of, humans with lean body mass and nice strong bones. And then in the future, it's this gelatinous, really soft-looking human with very small bones. And they go around with screens in their face, sipping
Hmm.
on high caloric beverages instead of eating. They don't even have enough energy to chew. And they have these like hovercraft chairs and they never get out of them.
Yeah.
Like that's what the creator's prediction of the human race is going to be. It's kind of bleak.
It is bleak. It's also kind of seems like it's going to happen.
Yeah, I know, right?
But anyway, I got to wrap this sucker up. But
Yeah,
I know you get into like the strength and the foam rolling and the stretching, all that
yeah.
stuff. But maybe because we talk about that all the time, let's just skip ahead to your kind of conclusion at the end of this article. Um,
Hmm.
and it basically is like, look at these key aspects of your actual life. And if you can improve those, then your performance as an athlete will go up.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And your resiliency will improve, and sickness and injury will decrease.
got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Really quickly too, I know we've got to go. I got a patient, and you got to go. In
Hmm.
that conclusion, I also mentioned that the number one cause of running injury is previous injury,
Oh, yeah,
which
that's
is,
right.
if you think about it,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
we as healthcare professionals, we as the people who treat runners, need to do a better job to make sure that our patients are fully recovered before we send them back running and competing. A lot of
Hmm.
times, as soon as the pain is gone, people just go back, but they're not fully recovered. They're not functioning at 100%, which is
Right.
my theory, which is why they're getting re-injured. It's either not having the patient not having the patience to stick through the plan of care, or it's us as healthcare providers not having the patience or not having the wherewithal to make sure we're looking at everything and we're sending them out at 100%. Because that's a scary stat. That's the scariest stat
It
too.
is.
Like
Yeah.
the number one reason you got hurt is because you were previously hurt in that area. Something's not something's
Something
not
ain't
adding
right
up there.
there. Yeah. Yeah.
Something ain't right.
Cool. Something ain't
All right,
right.
man.
All right. Well,
Something ain't
thanks.
right.
I'm gonna go grab that coffee that's in the other room.
Don't forget the water
But
too.
oh yes, absolutely.
All
Uh,
right.
thank you, my friend, and
Thank you.
I'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in, folks, and yeah, we'll chat again.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
Peace. Favorite trail shoes on the planet. I'm gonna try to keep it to around